All right, so let's look at Unit 6. Unit 6 talks about national and local government elections. So we've talked about political parties in Unit 5. Now in Unit 6, we're going to talk about national and local level government election. Now, as we always do, let's look at the objectives here. So at the end of this lecture or discussion, you should be able to know the main purpose of the organic law on national and local government elections. Okay, so we've talked about the organic law on the integrity of political parties. Now we will be talking about the organic law on national and local level government elections. Talk about its main purpose, and secondly, we are to discuss how national and local government elections are conducted. And lastly, to describe the main features of democratic elections. So basically, what we will be focusing on is trying to understand the main purpose of the organic law and how national and local government elections are conducted. All right, so that's the purpose of this discussion here. Okay, let's skim through to look at the subheading here to understand the content. Okay, so we have constitutional provisions on elections, provisions on the 1997 organic law on national and local level government elections, and then formation of government. Okay. The formation of government should be discussed as part of the early pack, but we are going to talk about it. So here again, you have 3 items or sub-items to go through in order to understand this unit here. All right, let's look at the constitutional provisions on elections. So, like I discussed earlier, you have the national constitutions, the hierarchy of constitution. In our country, you have the constitution itself. Below the constitution, you have the organic laws, and then the acts of parliament. So we've learned about one organic law in relation to political parties, and now we are going to talk about another organic law in relation to elections. All right? So when we talk about decentralization, there's another organic law that relates to decentralization. So the organic law itself gives us an idea on how elections should run, all right? The administrative aspect of the election, its election conduct, okay, etc. Same as the organic law for decentralization system. The organic law describes the main features and structure of the decentralization system in our country. So our government departments, let's say the Electoral Commission, derives its mandate to administer election from the organic law. It can't just organize an election out of the blue. No, it has to follow the law. It has to follow the organic law that creates election itself. So this is the particular for example, when you talk about elections, it's also important to discuss and understand the organic law in relation to elections. For example, here let's look at the constitutional provision for election. So in our constitution, okay, section 50 to 56 of the national constitution, it's not the organic law but the national constitution, provides for election to be held every 5 years. So our national constitution calls for elections to be held at a regular interval. This is so that it ticks the checkbox of the representative democracy. In a representative democracy, there needs to be regular election. Papua New Guinea is part of a representative democracy, so Papua New Guinea needs to hold interval regular elections, whether it be national or local government election. All right? In our country, local government elections are not given focus. And that's a very bad precedent. In any representative democracy, both national and local level government elections needs to be prioritized. So Section 50 talks about, or the Constitution provides for national elections to be held every 5 years. So our Constitution states that we need to hold elections every 5 years. That's why every 5 years we need to fulfill the requirement that is given to us by our Constitution. Now, Section 50 states that a citizen is eligible to stand for and vote in an election if he or she is not under sentence of death or imprisonment for a period of more than 9 months, has not been convicted within a period of 3 years preceding the first day of the next general election, has lived in the electorate he or she is contesting for more than 6 months. You see these 3 dots here. Unless you have an issue with these 3 dots here, then you are not required to stand for or vote in an election. If you have been convicted, okay, if you did a crime or something like that, and you are in prison, your right to vote is being taken away by the conviction. Apart from that, every Papua New Guinean has a right to participate in the election after the age of 18. Okay, the eligible age for election is over 18. So, to give effect to that constitutional requirement, that is where the organic law, national and local government election comes in. To fulfill this requirement here, stated by the Constitution. Now let's look at the organic law here. So, by way of the first, let's say, the subheading here, this Constitution gives us provisions for election, to stand for and vote in a national election. Constitution says that there needs to be election every 5 years, and everyone seated here, okay, have passed the eligible age of 18, so you are required by law to go and vote and also stand for public office. Now, how do we go about in exercising this right? The 1997 Organic Law National and Local Government Elections gives us or administers this right that is given to us. So the Organic Law created the Electoral Commission, and the Electoral Commission now administers both local and national elections. And I'll read. The 1997 Organic Law on national and local level election provides for simultaneous national and local government election. We have not been abiding by this organic law or the Organic Law of 1997. After 1997, I'm not sure if I can recall, by provision of the Organic Law, the national and local government election are supposed to be administered simultaneously, meaning administered together. When we run for national election, when we vote for our national leaders, we must also vote for our local leaders as well. But probably the logistics and the cost in delivering 2 elections at the same time is overwhelming. That is why there is allowance or room for national and local government elections to run at a separate time. Okay? So the cost itself and the logistics operation of running these 2 elections made it in such a way that it's not conducive to administer both elections at the same time. However, the importance is that the kind of prominence that is given to national election must also be given to the local elections as well. Otherwise, we will not, or otherwise we might not be able to call ourselves a representative democracy. If we are concentrating on administering the national election and not concentrating on the local level government election. And currently, our local government election has been postponed, deferred, and this is not a good thing for a representative democracy like Papua New Guinea. It's very bad because we have been focusing more on national and not the local. However, there are some structural issues in place, and also local government election is so important in Papua New Guinea politics that our national MPs derive their support from our local government or our local MPs. The presidents and the local councillors are very critical in ensuring base support to the national MPs. So probably, I am just guessing here, one way of suppressing the national government, national election, is to make way or make room for more power to the national MPs. But this is just this is just my opinion, my guess. Probably that is the case. But the importance here is that both national and local government election must be coordinated, conducted, whether it be simultaneously or at the same time, and must be given prominence so that we call ourselves a representative democracy. If we keep on focusing on national election and not focusing on local government election, then the idea of representative democracy itself in Papua New Guinea, okay, is not being fulfilled. Yes. Yes, the LLG rates has been issued, yes.
Will the LLG councillors stop that straight or will they continue as we are heading into our 60th anniversary?
The current LLG.
I'm wondering, can you help me? Do they stop work or do they continue? Or will it be against the law if they continue to work?
When you say continue to work, what do you mean continue to work? Continue to hold that particular office as a councillor? All right. So I'm not sure how the laws relate to that particular question, but normally when the issue of writs is given, you are supposed to be you are not supposed to hold that particular office. So that particular office expires after the writ is given. So if they are continuing in that office, probably that might be against the law. But I'm not sure which specific provisions in the law that talks about this. All right? Probably that question would be good for a lawyer. All right? Okay? But for our case, as political science students, taking Papua New Guinea politics, our issue here is that the delay of it now may cause complication as you stated here. So the delay of local government election, okay, has caused confusion in which the councillors, presidents are saying that, okay, if there is postponement of the election, then does that mean that we continue to serve as councillors or not? That's another question. Another question would be, after the writ is given, then they are no longer, okay, the councillors or the presidents. So that is a question for the legal profession to answer. But for our case here, when that happens, it questions the integrity of the electoral process. So that kind of questions is our concern as political science students. When there is an issue where it questions the integrity of the political process itself, that undermines the representative democracy that we have. So when that undermines the representative democracy, that is bad for our country as a functioning democracy. So an administrative oversight on an administrative issue like that, when it pops up, it questions or undermines the kind of, or undermines our representative democracy. All right? So that is why, to avoid all this, the organic law have stated clearly that both national and local government elections should run simultaneously at the same time. So to avoid all these issues or legal issues here. All right? So my dear, that the question is good, is a good question. But to answer that and to stay in tune with our discussion, we will be saying that example, okay, is a matter of an issue of integrity of the electoral process. Okay? Now a lawyer might answer in the legal profession or the legal terms. But this is a good example in that it undermines, even if it's local level government election, we have to take this as a priority because it is also recognized in our constitution, the right for election, section 50 of the constitution. And in a way, this sort of undermines the integrity of our country or our constitution itself, of being a constitutional democracy. But thank you for that question. Okay, it gives us, it helps us to think critically into those issues or the areas here. All right, now let's look at the formation of government. Now, after elections, we usually anticipate, and by now, you students of politics, you would like to see, or let's say, buy data and go onto those Facebook sites and see the formation of government, okay, as it is being broadcasted. But before formation of government, again, there needs to be some sort of law guiding the formation of government itself. And one example is the section 63 of the OLIPEC itself. That's number one. Secondly, and it's not mentioned here, but it's worth mentioning, is the standing orders in relation to the voting of the Prime Minister. So we have government formation. There are two laws that talks or that guides the formation of the Prime Minister. Number one is through the organic law on the integrity of political parties, and number two, as per the election, okay, and the standing orders of the Parliament. So you will see that in our country after 2002, that first the Governor General will call for the leading party, the leader of the leading party, okay, to be the alternate government. And secondly, that's the first process. The second process is when the alternate government or the nominee is given the right by the Governor General, he will have to make arrangement with other coalition partners, and then they will fulfill the second part, which is the standing orders of the Parliament. Now they will go to the Parliament itself, sit down for a Parliament session, which is dedicated to the voting of the Prime Minister itself. But here, let's see, Section 63 of the OLIPEC states that subject to subsection 2, on the date of the return of the writs in a general election, the Electoral Commission shall advise the head of state of the registered political party which has endorsed the greatest number of candidates declared election in the election. And the head of state, acting with and in accordance with the advice from the Electoral Commission, shall invite the registered political party to form the government in accordance with this section here. So Section 63 of the OLIPEC is an invitation, or in other words, Section 63, or they call it Letter 63, the Governor General will invite the leading political party in the election. So, for example, Pangu Party did so well in 2022. general election. That's why the Governor General has called on James Marape as the party leader to be the alternate Prime Minister. So alternate Prime Minister meaning he is not the Prime Minister, but because his party was given the full backing by the election and the voters, he is recognized by the Governor General as the alternate Prime Minister. And now, as being the alternate Prime Minister, he now has to go into Parliament to confirm his nominee as the Prime Minister. That is where the standing order comes in. All right, so we've talked about the election and the final part of the election. Let's look at the summary here. So in this unit, you have learned the basic purpose of the organic law that relates to national local level government election. All right, and how the national local level elections are conducted and fundamental features of a democratic elections. All right, in relation to fundamental features of a democratic election, we had a question here that relates to the integrity of the election. So upholding the integrity of election is very much important for a representative democracy like Papua New Guinea. Such issues comes up when there is postponement of election, and then the people that once hold the office tend to go back and fulfill the role of that office. That sort of undermines the electoral process itself. And when there is questions of undermining of electoral process, then that is an issue of integrity, electoral integrity, what they call it. All right, so such issues have led to weakening of our electoral system itself, and that is bad for our democracy. When our elections are weakened, that means people that make important decisions on behalf of our country, when they are not elected properly through the democratic process, then there is an issue of whether they will, or there is let's say, the consequence might be they might abuse power for personal gain, and our country and our people will suffer. So that is why participating in national and local government election and abiding by the process and respecting the integrity of that process is very much important to safeguard our democracy. If we are not careful, and if we allow one-talk system and issues of bribery, block voting, violence, when it creeps in, then we are in danger, all right, in danger of our own demise. Okay, we will be our people will be the one that will face the consequence of weakened processes like that. All right. So that concludes unit 6 for today.